The UN is stupid, and when people say defund the UN, here's why. The UN in 2023 just instituted their new Human Rights Council. Now, in the past, there were several countries on the Human Rights Council that had no business being on the Human Rights Council, including Russia, who was only kicked off a year after they invaded Ukraine. I believe North Korea at one point was on the Human Rights Council. China has been on the Human Rights Council. And last year, Iran was appointed to a leadership role within the UN Human Rights Council. Yes, Iran. Just for the record, Iran also last year, very close to the time where they were appointed to this prestigious part in the UN Human Rights Council, hung 2 women for criticizing the religion on social media. So there's that. So a new crop of countries has popped up and has become on the UN's Human Rights Council. Some of those countries include Namibia and Rwanda, which we don't need to go into the history there, but on the Human Rights Council, also pause. The fact that it is like this rotating thing that just, well, everybody can participate, is why the freaking UN is such a stinking joke. The fact that we all pretend, all of the countries, that every country that is involved in the UN is the same as us. They have the same exact say, and they should have the same exact say, is hilarious on so many different fronts. The say of all of the various countries, regardless of whether or not they are evil countries or they produce nothing and contribute nothing, everyone is the same and everyone should have the same say. That's one of the reasons why the UN should be defunded. But to continue on to this, some of the countries that are included on the new Human Rights Council at the UN is Sudan, which the U.S. government says significant human rights issues include credible reports of unlawful and arbitrary killings, cruel, inhumane, and denigrating treatment or punishment by the government, harsh and life-threatening prison conditions, arbitrary arrests or detentions of political prisoners or detainees. That is what the U.S. government says about Sudan, yet they're on the Human Rights Council. Saudi Arabia is on the Human Rights Council, where women weren't allowed to drive until 2018. Also, everybody remembers the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Turkey. They are also on the Human Rights Council. Pakistan, which recently displaced 1 million Afghan refugees in a region that is kind of controlled by Pakistan, and just said, kick them out, get them out of here. And that happened like last month, displacing again 1 million people in their own country. They are on the Human Rights Council. And Eritrea, where compulsory, decades-long military service is required of all of its citizens, they are on the UN Human Rights Council. People don't know much about Eritrea, but you should know about Eritrea. If there is a big war that breaks out on the African continent, it's going to be between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Eritrea is Africa's North Korea. It's ruled by one dude who has absolute total control. You have to serve in the military, basically until you're dismissed, but the military also runs the entire economy. So basically you serve in the military but are forced to be a farmer for 40 years. It is a crazy country that you should look into. They are also going to go to war with Ethiopia because Ethiopia is the biggest, most populated, landlocked entirely country in the world. And in order to maintain trade and economic growth, they need a port. Eritrea is in the way from Ethiopia to that port. I won't get into the whole specifics of it, but it's going to be a big issue at some point. All of that is to say is that Eritrea, with their incredible amount of human rights abuses, is also on the Human Rights Council in 2024. And so when people say the UN is a joke and we should pull out of the UN and we should stop funding it, the reason why is because stuff like this. It is a joke. The people that are involved are a joke. And nobody freaking pulls any of their own weight and we pay for it all. So how about we don't, or we revamp it and say, okay, We are going to hold all of you countries accountable and not pretend that we all have the same say.